Filter-free radio. Fucked up news for fucked up times.
From Washington, this report: the National Security Agency moved swiftly and forcefully today to remind its employees of its long-standing zero-tolerance policy on consciousness, warning that any violation of that policy would result in immediate termination. Quote, when you sign on to work at the NSA, you swear to uphold the standards of morality and soullessness that this agency was founded upon, end quote, says NSA Director General Keith B. Alexander. He goes on to say, any evidence of ethics, decency, or a sense of right and wrong will not be tolerated. These things have no place in the intelligence community, end quote. To enforce the policy, General Alexander said that once a month, all NSA employees will be wired to a computer to take full inventory of what is going on in their minds. Quote, we want to be sure they're spending their free time playing Call of Duty and not reading the Federalist Papers, end quote. The NSA director attempted to reassure the American people that despite unfortunate recent events, the agency remains one of the most heartless and cold-blooded organizations on the face of the earth. He added, quote, we refuse to let one good apple spoil the whole bunch. Going on, he said that moving forward, the NSA would try to recruit people who had already demonstrated a commitment to invading people's privacy by either working at Google or Facebook. Okay, I'm just kidding. That's tongue-in-cheek. That's Andy Borowitz, the man, Andy Borowitz report at NewYorker.com. But that essentially is the news of the day and where I want to start. Of course, tongue-in-cheek there. By Borowitz, but you know the humor is in the truth. We're going to break down and play the entire interview between Glenn Greenwald and Edward Snowden that he gave to The Guardian, which is making huge news and the news right now. And I got to play some clips of what Julian Assange is calling Edward Snowden. I'll give you a hint. He's not a criminal. This is not only making an impact here in the United States, but there is a significant global impact as well that we should not immediately ignore. And I want to play this clip to set that up.
What is the right balance between liberty and security? This question is as old as the American Republic itself. It became more acute after 9/11 and far more complicated with the widespread use of computers and cell phones. This week it burst into the open, and this morning the president had to go on the defensive.
When it comes to telephone calls, nobody is listening to your telephone calls. Now, with respect to the internet and emails, this does not apply to U.S. citizens, and it does not apply to people living in the United States.
But it does apply to people in Britain, for instance. There have been almost 200 intelligence reports generated by this program from the UK last year alone. GCHQ, Britain's domestic spying agency, working with the Americans by circumventing British law. The program is called PRISM, and it started under President Bush here in the National Security Agency, the world's biggest eavesdropping organization.
Now, that kind of a little bit of background. Scott, would you mind giving us your take a little bit on the background and kind of setting this up?
This isn't anything we haven't said on the show before, or any kind of thing that hasn't been documented before.
Right.
Certainly in 2006, you had the AT&T whistleblower come forward and say, by the way, the NSA is listening to everything on the AT&T network. I know because I installed the router for it. And this was what? How many years ago was that? 5 years ago?
Right.
But I guess, it's sort of like, oh, okay, whatever. No one thinks anything about it. But now it's starting to come forward. The interesting thing, I think, personally, is that, we talk about the need for whistleblowers and the lack of journalism we have these days in corporate America. And so we're getting whistleblowers, which is really good news. People are coming forward and saying this is fundamentally wrong. And they're doing it from positions that would otherwise not, let's face it, they're going to try and kill this guy. This Edward Snowden guy, that's why he fled the country before he released these documents and came forward and said, my name is Edward Snowden, I used to work, for Booz Allen Hamilton as a contractor for the NSA, et cetera. And so what we have here is people working within these institutions that are completely corrupt. The institutions themselves are corrupt, not the people. And the people working there day after day are just going, this isn't right. There's something, this is criminal and someone should do something. And of course, if as with any corrupt organization, you can't put it up the chain of command, they're there because they got there working within the confines of the corruption. And so you'll be silenced if you go to your higher ups or your superiors within that organization or whatever. And so he immediately, he went externally to the press, which is what you're supposed to do in these situations when institutions themselves are corrupt. So this is the NSA as one example of a much larger example, and that's the encroachment of the security and surveillance state into our daily lives and the further erosion or elimination. I think it's more like elimination of the Fourth Amendment, the First Amendment, and any various parts of the Constitution.
This kind of common theme of how we can all smell the stench of the crap that's going on, and a few people are willing to step up. Those few are getting totally sledgehammered down. But still, there are people willing to step up, have the courage to speak the truth. And in steps this former CIA employee who's working as a contractor for the NSA, the National Security Agency. He's come forward over the weekend, or on Friday, basically, with this interview. This interview took place on the 6th, so 4 days ago, with Glenn Greenwald, The Guardian.
Oh, okay.
And he's saying, I am the source. I am the one who has released one of the biggest leaks in U.S. history. Ed Snowden, he was a former CIA technical assistant. He's now working with the NSA through this military firm called Booz Allen Hamilton. And he's revealed his identity with this interview with Glenn Greenwald, one of our favorites, over at The Guardian. And Snowden's basically expressing, trying to expose this top secret NSA surveillance programs to kind of alert you and me, this is why we're talking about this, of this expansive and continuing, growing, spiraling out of control, snowball, escalating issue, this government spying on innocents. You got, this, the warrantless spying and wiretapping, the Patriot Act, and just so on and so forth. And he's speaking. This conversation takes place in Hong Kong, right, to set this up. And he's been there apparently in Hong Kong since last month after leaving his home in Hawaii. Oh, my goodness. The guy lives in Hawaii, probably making six figures at least. He's only 29 years old, by the way, just almost a kid, a couple years older than I am. And he's saying that in this interview, he's carefully vetted each document he's released to ensure that it has real legitimacy in the public interest. Over the last several days, he's disclosed to The Guardian, The Washington Post, have revealed others. It's all over YouTube. A number of previously unknown surveillance operations that have been carried out by the NSA, including the collection of millions of U.S. calls and logs. Your and I phone calls really are being recorded. Our emails really are being recorded.
Oh, just think every single human interaction that's not face to face on, every single digital human interaction is being recorded. So you name it. Think about it. Internet, text, phone, whatever. Emails, doesn't matter. It's all being recorded and stored in these massive data centers. And, it's not that you're doing anything right. And domestically, too, not just this lie about, only if you call Europe, where we're going to record it. Regardless, the whole point of this all is that if you look at the much larger picture, why they need to do this? They're certainly not protecting us from terrorists, and the notion and the big lie that, this guy who leaked this information is aiding and abetting the terrorism, please, as if the terrorists don't know they're already, the NSA is not trying to wiretap them or whatever. I mean, come on, that's a given if you do any kind of criminality, right? Yeah, so the point is that we don't need this organization. This institution of our government that no one really knows anything about. It's completely shadowy, and yet they are much larger. There's something. If you've ever seen Good Will Hunting, when Will Hunting or Brett, AKA Matt Damon, sits there and runs down the "Why should I work for the NSA?" quote, where he's like, "Well, you have 10 times the budget that the CIA. You're larger than the CIA, FBI, and Secret Service combined, and you have twice the budget and da 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 da." And it's completely secret, of course. And so it's this has been around. It's been going on for 50 plus years, and it's just now people are going, "Hey, what's the NSA?" So I think, but the reality is that people are completely unaware. Sure. And it's getting so pernicious, and with under the guise, or it's been, I guess, expanded, if you will, under the guise of terrorism, and basically just giving a blank check to do whatever they want, and what that leads to is fascism. That's the bottom line.
So on the news that our phone calls are being recorded, our emails are being recorded, let me mention that we are taking your phone calls on our hotline at 503-746-TALK. See how you like how I did that? But I do want to hear from you. We really do. And we got the comment line open now, our new hotline, and that's at 503-746-TALK, 503-746-TALK if you want to comment. How do you feel about your phone calls being recorded? Or just maybe not necessarily the content.
If you didn't do anything wrong, if you have nothing to hide, you should be fine.
Right. Let's go back. Let's step in the Wayback Machine, in the time machine, and let's just dial back 3 months to March. 3 months ago, this is Senator Ron Wyden, the awesome, super duper awesome senator from Oregon. Woo woo! Another reason why I'm going to vote for you again, Senator. Thank you. Just a constituent thing, Anyways, he was questioning this guy named James Clapper. Now, who's James Clapper? James Clapper is the director of national intelligence, and he's the guy who's on all the TV shows today saying, "Oh, this leak is grave damage. It's done grave damage." The quote today from James Clapper, for me, it is literally, not figuratively, literally gut-wrenching to see this happen because of this huge, grave damage it does to our intelligence capabilities. Oh, you mean the same James Clapper that said this to Senator Ron Wyden when he was questioned about what the NSA is up to 3 months ago?
Now listen to this Q&A session with America's most senior intelligence officer from March.
Does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly.
Man, this is some bullshit!
Double fucking newsflash.
Imagine that. They lie. More lying. Okay, so, well, what do you expect? I mean,
not even a weasel, not even a, he could not even some legalese to make it sound like he wasn't lying. Like obfuscation of the truth. He just flat out lied.
Yes, he flat out lied. And isn't there like a rule about lying before Congress when you're like being questioned and under oath?
Pretty sure that's a felony, by the way.
I'm pretty sure there's, but he's not in trouble at all. It's the guy who's trying to tell us what the hell's going on and what the people are up to. He's the one who's in trouble, right? He's the criminal. He's not a hero. I mean, I turn on the only live talk radio in Portland now is conservative talk, and so I'm sitting here at the computers banging out prep for the show, and every once in a while I gotta take a break. I'll go downstairs, flip on one of the local talk shows, and it's just wall to wall today. Eric Snowden is a criminal. He's a traitor. We need to take this guy down. You can't hide from us. China isn't going to protect you. Take the guy down. He's not a hero. How could you ever think this guy's a hero? And Bradley Manning and Julian Assange and Daniel Ellsberg and off with all of them. It's that. So
ironic. He's not even in China. He's in Hong Kong. That's the conflation that that's the whole the propaganda arm of corporate America.
Right.
It's which is ironic that they would be defending such action, these so-called nationalists, because it's really, if you hear the right wingers and everything you just itemized right there, that I'm sure you would hear from any kind of so-called conservative radio. It's antithetical to their belief system, and it's unconstitutional, and so I don't understand how they can. I mean, these are so-called libertarians. I mean, they're not even libertarians. Some of them, I guess, are libertarians, but even the conservatives, how they square. I mean, it's completely hypocritical.
Right.
How they can square calling this guy some treasonist. Versus what the NSA is doing, which is completely treasonous because it's unconstitutional, which is the very definition of treason. Whereas somebody who saw this kind of criminality and treason, if you will, coming forward. So it's really, turning everything on its head.
Right.
But at the same time, it also conflicts with their so-called worldview. I don't really get it, but hey, it's good radio, right?
Here's we do have a news flash.
Newsflash, you stupid fucking cocks!
Hong Kong is a part of China and has been since 1999. Thank you, Lava Q, for the update. So let me play this clip.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We got the best chatters in the world, smartest chatters in the world. And you can chat for free at filterfreeradio.com right now, or radionaut.com.